Anyway, this is my wife Sherry, very much my business partner, and has been since 1993. I'm going to let her kind of go into the introduction of our family and that kind of thing, and then we'll jump in on some stories about our business journey.
Okay. We are Brian and Sherry Bluhm, and we have 4 children, and they range from age 24, as of 3 days ago, or 4 had a birthday, ranging all the way down to 10. We have 3 boys. Oh, is our picture? Where's our picture? Yes. We have 3 boys, and then the Lord placed it on our hearts that we needed a little more chaos in our life, and so we adopted a little girl last April. So for 10 months we have been parents of a daughter, which I can tell you, those of you that have boys and girls, it is quite a difference in them. So yes, McKenna's over here on the right. She is 10, and then Conager is 24. He is a student at TSTC and just bought his first home here in Abilene, and that's me and Brian. And then Lincoln is 14. He is an 8th grader at Jim Ned Middle School, and Garrison on the far left is 20, and he is a student running track and cross country at Southern Nazarene University in Oklahoma City. And anyway, so we're pretty proud of them. But both of us are first generation entrepreneurs. We did not have any family that passed down an incredible business to us and we got to just take it over or anything like that. As a matter of fact, my parents were freaking out because they're like, oh my goodness, why would you leave a job that had, like insurance and benefits to go and do something that's risky? So our background, Brian attended, he grew up in a small town of Johnson, Kansas. I did grow up in Abilene, and go Cougs. We're the best of the red and blue. We're the Cougs of 82. Anyway, so he went to Wayland Baptist University, where he graduated. Before that, went to Baptist Bible College in Springfield, Missouri for 3 years and played basketball, obviously. And I went to Southern Nazarene University as well. So anyway.
Anyway, we were, as Sherry was saying, we were brand new entrepreneurs. Some of my friends in here knew us when we were educators, and jumping from education into entrepreneurship, Sherry was a teacher and coach at Cooper High School, and not only did they let her come back after going to school there, which was amazing, but anyway, so she was a coach over there. I worked at Hardin-Simmons for 8 years. I'm an upper level administrator with student services, and but all this time, when I was a kid, I grew up, fireworks stand, all this kind of stuff, mowing lawns, doing all these entrepreneurial things, and I was trying to do this entrepreneurship thing in my job at Hardin-Simmons. And I don't know about you guys, but you guys that are in the Air Force, you'll understand this. You can't be extremely entrepreneurial in your job typically, and you can take it a little bit, but it's going to squelch you at some point. And so I had that itch. Sherry told me when we were dating, and she coached in a private gym club in Oklahoma City while she was going to school up there, and she tells me that she never said this, but I said, you told me that you wanted to own your own private club. And so here she is coaching over here at Cooper, and we had an opportunity to buy an existing club here in Abilene, a gymnastics club, which I didn't know anything about gymnastics. I grew up in a town of 1,000 people. We had, rabbits and stuff like that. And we might be able to play some basketball or something, but gymnastics is something you watched on TV. And so, anyway, but we had a chance to buy it. And you guys will understand this. When you're working on educator's salary, you're not going to go buy a big business. Anybody else been in education before? Yeah, so there's no extra cash there. But fortunately, the people that were wanting to get out of this business were very hungry to get out, and so they made it where we could get into it with no money. And so, some of you guys may remember back in the day there was a deal called Career Ladder. And so this was our determining factor because we were fixing to walk away from, as Sherry said, what her parents considered was a stupid move on our part, to walk away from a secure income with 3 months off every year, benefits and all that other stuff. And they're like, why are you doing that? And so one of the points of this whole deal is what motivates you. And there's quite a bit of uniqueness if you look around the room, and I realize not everybody's an entrepreneur in here, but everybody's motivated by something. And so I think I probably had more motivation about this gymnastics deal than Sherry did, but she went along with me anyway. But I remember just being scared to death because we're fixing to lose her salary. And this was an established business, but it was not running well. And oh, by the way, we had never done this kind of thing before. And so, I don't know about you, I never knew how much stress you could come under when you become the one where the buck stops. And because when I worked at Hardin Simmons, I had a big budget, $3 million or something like that, but the buck didn't stop with me. I supposedly managed that, but at the end of the day, if someone wanted to change my decision, they could. And so now it came down to, well, are you going to get workman's comp? Are you going to, how are you going to make this schedule? Who's going to be your accountant? All this kind of stuff. We're like, oh, we got all these decisions to make. And so, but I turned it over to Sherry. I stayed at Hardin Simmons, continued to work, so we'd have one steady income, and turned it over to Sherry with her vast experience in gymnastics, but not so vast experience in business.
And coming from a PE major, but I did have my master's in PE, so that made me a really good business person, right? Great. I remember the first month that we had the gym, and we were getting checks from people, here again, getting money from other people, and then making our deposits. And my mom, who was working at Davis Conard at the time, she said, now, where did you keep records of all this? You're keeping good records, right? And I go, oh, shoot, I knew I forgot something. So, I mean, even reporting who had paid me and stuff, so we've come a long way in 20 some odd years of business and lots of stories.
Well, in the course of that business, though, we learned a ton of lessons, and one of which is when you're hiring college students to be your main employee, how many of y'all know how reliable that is? Don't go there. And so these are painful lessons, but you learn them.
And at one time, we even had as many as 5 employees that didn't show up at one time. And I went out to our front office manager and I said, I need you to pick a class. We had 5 employees not show up. Pick a class. Do you want to do preschool or cheerleading, or what do you want to do? And y'all, until you've seen Brian Bluhm at 6'9" sport a high V teaching a cheerleading class, they haven't seen anything yet. So I will say that being an entrepreneur has kind of ruined me at a thought process of being a normal person. And those of you that have a business, you are understanding this totally, because we cannot go into a restaurant and eat. And I'll look around and I'll see only like 2 or 3 other people in this restaurant, and I go, oh my goodness, how do they keep the doors open? I know they have payroll taxes and insurance and their electric bills, and oh my goodness, how do people make this work? And I'll even tell y'all this, for those you didn't even notice, Brian, he's going to go over into some of the things of businesses that he's currently doing right now, and I do say businesses because there are multiples of them right now. And but one of them is sanitation business, of providing sanitation supplies to companies and businesses and hospitals or nursing homes or whatever. The paper towels that are in this bathroom here, if y'all haven't noticed them, dude, those are thick. Those aren't the cheap stuff, so whoever is buying your paper towels here, kudos to you guys. But I mean, even my thought process on just going to the bathroom, and it makes you look at things so differently. We did start in 1990, what year was it? 3. We did the 3 most stressful things that people tell you not to do, and that is we had a baby, we moved, and we bought a business, all within like 6 months of each other. So yes, our marriage has withstood that, so we feel like that we're going to make it for the duration because we withstood 3 very stressful things in our life all at the same time.
So during the course of all that, about 3 years into it, 1996, our 20-year-old was born, and I had 9 weeks of leave built up with paternity leave and sick leave out at Hardin Simmons. I said, well, we had made 11,000 whopping dollars out of the gymnastics club that year, and I said, this is either not going to go or it's going to go. And I said, we both felt like it was what I was supposed to do, is to leave my job at Hardin Simmons. And we're like, so we're scoping out our club, saying, if things don't work well, where can we live here? You know, and you guys may not have ever gone through this, but I'm looking at all of the, you know, you're checking out all of the different options, and we're scared to death again, but it's a step of faith. It's an attribute for an entrepreneur. And so, and some would call it stupidity, and we had family members that did. But the point of all that is that we took that leap, and I remember going to my banker, and I said to him, he'd been with us from the beginning, and he's a good friend also, and I said, I decided to leave my job. And he's like, well, I don't know. I said, I just really feel like that's what God told us to do. And Sherry agreed with me, and he said, well, I don't know whether to pat you on the back or call you stupid. And so, so anyway, we made this leap. I said, I just need 30 new students in order to make this thing work. And sure enough, about 6 weeks later, we had a guy come to us, and being an athlete, I always hated cheerleaders, by the way. Okay, and you know, they always wanted the same. Never mind, I won't go there. Anyway, but this guy comes to me and says, I want to start a cheerleading program at your club. And I'm like, tell me about that. And he did. And sure enough, within about 6 weeks, we had 30 plus cheerleaders paying us twice what we needed them to pay. And from that point on, we were rocking and rolling. The club grew to about 500 students, and we'll tell some more stories about that. But you take risk, and that's part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of living life if you want to do it right. Mm-hmm. That's right. You know, we did that, and every risk you take is scary. It's, you know, I've talked to several people in here when they've been looking at, well, what if I leave my security and all that kind of stuff? And you know what? I don't know that I've ever seen it not work. I've seen people struggle with it and think that it's going to crater or whatever, but I'm just telling you, the risk that it takes when you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do. And the thing is it's the pursuit of what you feel like you're put on this earth for. See, when I was a young adult, I was looking for the easiest way out. How can I live life without any stress? Mm-hmm. Well, it's certainly not being an entrepreneur. Okay, and so so Sherry and I, we have agreed over time to step into stressful moments so we can have the outcome of life that we want. I had, for example, a desire for her to not have to work every day, to go into the job market every day. That was one of our dreams. We wanted her to raise our kids. We didn't know that lifestyle because that's not what either one of us grew up with, but it was a desire. We also had a desire somewhere down the road that we could take care of our parents when they got elderly. And, you know, it's taken a long time to get to that position where we can, but we've been fortunate enough to be going in that direction. And so we've done that for a while, but, you know, we did this gymnastics thing for a while. And after you hit your head against the wall enough times, if you're smart, you decide to make a move. And we had enough employees that we ran through. You know, we're hiring 20 or 30 college students every semester to coach for us, and it was a nightmare. And good kids, just they're not devoted to what you're doing. It's not their dream, right? And so, and then we discovered it wasn't our dream either. And so we decided to make a move.
Well, and then Brian's parents ended up moving to Abilene, and right after they got to Abilene, they ended up living with us. Well, we thought just for a little bit, but then Brian's dad suffered heart problems and had to have bypass, so it ended up being over a year. And he thought, well, hey, I'll just buy a business so that my dad can run it. So guess what? Here we go on our second jaunt of business, and we had a vending company called Ventec. And it's those, you know, the cranes that come down and pick up the candy, and, you know, you're guaranteed to win every single time. You get one little piece of candy. Anyway, and gumballs and stuff like that. So he ran that for a while, and that we thought, oh, we're going to make so much money doing this. But anyway, I'm not going to say anything about that.
Well, it's pretty good, you know, when you're bringing in your Suburban sitting down real heavy because you got $20,000 worth of quarters sitting back there. Until you lose your contract. And when that contract goes away, you have dated inventory and equipment, and you've got this big loan out here that you took out, and now you have no way to pay it, and it's exciting, right? But again, you learn lessons, and I think we refinance. I'm just being real transparent here. I think we refinanced that thing like 3 times, but it's paid off today, by George, So.
But not too long ago.
Yeah.
We've been paying on it all this time.
Yeah. But you learn these lessons, and one of the lessons is for us as entrepreneurs is we don't necessarily care for this kind of business. I didn't even know when I started entrepreneurship that there were different kinds of businesses. It's an aha moment when you're like, oh, yeah, I don't think I like that kind. And so what happened at the end of that, we still didn't know how to do business. We're flying by the seat of our pants. We're doing everything, not a great way to learn, by the way. Experience is expensive. It's an expensive education. And so one of the values, just to plug right here, one of the values of you taking your time to be here today is to get in a network of people who are walking a similar path that you might want to walk. Because if you're walking alone, you're screwing up. If I can tell you that. Mike Michaelworth has done a fantastic job of creating venues. Amen. So, and Wendy's joined them now in an effort to give us places where we can have discussions about things that are relevant to people who are walking a risky path. And it's not all that risky if you're walking with people who know what they're doing, but if you're walking alone, I promise you, you're going to have bad problems. And we had those bad problems. I think we consulted with one guy before we bought our gym club, and he said, the great thing about owning your own business is you only have to work half the time. And he said, you just get to choose whatever 12 hours that is. Nowadays, I figure that's a short day, right? So you guys would recognize that. So later we got, and don't think that we're flakes this way, but we still didn't know anything about it, but we were introduced to a network marketing company called Amway. Many of you guys know that company. And my parents had done that, never made a dime. But we were convinced it was coming out on the web and it was going to be the thing to do. So we jumped in on doing that. We ended up selling our gym club because we wanted to pursue that full time. And we weren't making any money, by the way, when we did that. But what it helped us to do, and we made decent money doing that, enough really to replace what I normally made as probably both of us at that time as educators.
Clarify, we weren't making enough money in Amway is what he's meaning, not at the gym. The gym was making money.
Yeah, the gym was doing great. We just decided it wasn't our form of making, we needed to get out. And so we ended up selling a very viable company for way less than it was worth, just to get rid of the pain and the distraction. And what this helped us to do was begin to see, well, what kind of business are we really interested in? Well, we learned that we like to be in businesses that had consumable products, stuff that people use every day. We want to do that. We wanted to have low to no employees. Well, that was important to us. We wanted to have a worldwide presence. In fact, we've named our company, and you see it on your sheet there, Worldwide Business Solutions. Well, I named that back in 1999. Ask me how much worldwide knowledge I had at that point in time. 0. But you know what? I felt like my maker had put it within me a heart for that. And so you kind of begin to have expectations for that. You speak it. You begin to work that direction. And so later we continued to, we wanted to have diversified income streams. We wanted unlimited earning potential. And so all of these things were part of what we were looking for as we were developing our new business. We thought we'd get there through network marketing. It ended up, no, we didn't, but we learned so many lessons there. One of those things was, and we talked about it already today, is that you need to be a consistent learner. You better learn all the time. You better be adaptable. You better be, I call Sherry, it's a good thing she was a gymnast because she's had to be Miss Gumby as my partner. Because things change radically all the time. there are no plans that aren't up for grabs typically. I mean, there are very few.
And we call that the winds of change. And anytime anybody makes plans with us, maybe or may not, it may or may not happen, is because we say the winds changed, is because that's how fast things change in business. So if you're not a very flexible person and you can't handle change, you need to run for the door right now. As a matter of fact, since Brian's been in this meeting, he already had the winds change again for a business trip that he was supposed to do next week. And so I just kind of go, oh, well, it's okay. The Lord had something better or
That's
different
right.
that he was supposed to do with his time next Tuesday
right.
instead of that. So
Yeah.
anyway, one of the things that I wanted to say through Amway that was they had a line of products that was a commercial chemicals. Can I go into that? And he went out and trained on that and learned how to solicit these and to take them into businesses, and they could be huge or small businesses. And Brian went in, and I will tell you the one thing is that Brian is one of the most persistent, committed people I've ever met. And he went in and visited with a grocery store chain. We got a small grocery store chain and got our chemicals in there. And then he started working with United grocery store supermarkets trying to get it in. And we went back and logged and looked from the day he had his first meeting with United till the day it came to fruition and we signed a contract with them was an entire year. So he worked 12 months on this. Most people, after visiting or 7 calls and not getting called
Give up.
back, most people would say, oh, well, that's not meant to be. Oh, well, that's not meant to be. But he just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it until it came true. So anyway, and then this is what leads us into the next part of our journey.
So that Amway ended up dropping that line of products, and so we ended up becoming their master distributor from that manufacturer. And so, but what Sherry didn't tell you, from 2001 when we sold our gym club to 2004, we were going backwards about $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and we were living on credit cards.
And we got pregnant.
Yeah,
Again.
it was an exciting season at our house.
And we had no insurance.
So if you don't think stress was a little high at our place, it was. We get along really famously. I mean, honestly, we were great matches. She's totally opposite from me. She's fun, I'm not. But the thing is that we wanted the stability of income. We just didn't have it. And fortunately, through our vending company, believe it or not, we were going through so much product. Our credit card offers were coming in like crazy. We were buying all of our product on credit cards, so we had $150,000 of credit line. We used it all, plus some. You say, well, that's pretty stupid, Brian. You're like, well, as we found out from some of the programs that Mike offers through, it's not this book, but another one like that, we find out that about 90+% of Americans start their businesses that way. I thought I was stupid because I'm listening to Dave Ramsey getting beat up every week and wondering if I'm okay. Now, I have some colleagues in here that they've never run debt in their entire life, and I'm like, praise God for you. I don't know what that's like. I will know, though. I will know. And so, but the thing is that we continued in pursuance of that, but as Sherry said, through those 3 or 4 years, we saw, and you may not be a God person, but this is our story. This doesn't have to be your story. But we saw God provide for us all through those 3 years when we were going backwards, when our credit line ran out. I might make one sale for $8,000, and it carried us for another couple of months.
And when I was pregnant, my appendix ruptured when I was 20 weeks pregnant. So it's like just kept on and on. The Lord was testing us. So.
But at the end of the day, somebody paid our hospital bill. We don't know who did it to this day. And so, we have seen provision after provision after provision. But the thing is that I can tell you the specific stories of how United Supermarkets called me, because I called them in October and they said to me, hey, we just signed a 2-year contract. We're not going to be interested for a while. And I'm like, okay, just another story, after all this time. And in December, they call me back and say, hey, these guys aren't performing. Are y'all still interested? And in January, we set up a test store for them. April, they signed a 3-year contract. Our lives haven't been the same since. Wow. And we've had that happen more than once. And my point of that is that there are several attributes to being an entrepreneur. One of those that Sherry's talking about is perseverance. You better have a backbone of titanium at times to be able to stay the course, because it's not easy. You better surround yourself with some great people. And this group didn't exist when we were doing our deal, but I probably wouldn't have been smart enough to come join Mike and his team at that time. But I'm telling you, do not walk alone. It's stupid. And so there's so many resources, and I've gained so much. I mean, I can look across this room, and people that knew me before I was in business and people who have known us since, and I've gained so much from so many people in this room just because I'll get a nugget from them, I'll get some bit of encouragement from them. But I'm just telling you, you cannot do it alone well. And then along the way, we've had some great people come and join us. Caleb, who you heard earlier, is our CFO, and I'm telling you, what a godsend. Because I'm a marketer. For me to sit down and do numbers, it's a painful event, okay? Caleb can explain things to me and make them simple to a old basketball player, right? And so...
and you wonder why he got his material for his talk. It's because he had to live that. Oh my goodness.
So, and it's not like Sherry already said this, it's not like we've arrived, we're just telling a story. We've had a good run, it's been fun, we've learned a ton of lessons. But we ended up, you remember this, the company we started was called Worldwide. Well, it turns out I wasn't really enthused about, as I get more clarity about our mission in life, it wasn't about running a sanitation company. That wasn't necessarily what I was enthused about. I like making money off of it. That expanded now, it's in 7 states. You know, it's done real well. We've had a good run on that, but we also knew that wasn't the end of where we were supposed to go. And so constantly you have to be resetting your objectives, your motivations, your vision. And so from that then we went out, and Sherry already told you we had a failure, and then we had an agriculture company, and Kevin knows this part of us well, and so does Doug, and you know we've dabbled in that with the lack of funds a lot of the times, but we start seeing traction in some agricultural chemical stuff. And then later we got into some environmental chemicals for use in brownfield cleanups and stuff like that. And from that, but you know what? We traveled to Oslo, Norway. I've been to Amsterdam. Sherry and I went to Switzerland working on that kind of stuff. Great, fun trips, but we never made any money. By the way, you're in business to make money, right? At least I am. So, but we had some good exposure, great experiences, but we never made any money. But my partner and I have been working on that project for 9 years. We probably spent $500,000 on it, and we have shown almost zero. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second, but we also have another company. We're actually working on a rural Wi-Fi project right now because I grew up in rural America. I believe the heart of the country is still in rural America, and we need to make sure that it can prosper, and if you don't have Wi-Fi, what you're talking about, you don't have it. You cannot develop economically. So we're working on that. I'm partnered with a company in Israel right now working on an innovative greenhouse project that is just stunning. But and we'll be releasing that here in the U.S. hopefully by the end of this year. Our hands are involved in several different things, and this is one of the things that, as I've discovered, kind of our mission and calling is to, because when we were looking for business opportunity, all I could find was network marketing. I couldn't find anybody, couldn't find an opportunity that we could afford to do. And so what we've been able to do through our sanitation company, through our ag company, some of those other companies, is launch people into businesses. Why? Because when this town was built, it didn't come with universities first. What came first? What?
Railroads.
Railroad, ranchers, right? Later some oil. You had commerce came before anything else came.
Yeah.
If we don't have commerce in our country, we don't have a country.
That's good.
And so that's been our focus in our mission now. Caleb's not an employee, he's a partner. Have other partners, and we're partnered in moving this mission forward. Mike is an ex facto partner. Why? Because we have to train people as they come on. Bill gives us words, helps us, encourages us. We've got all kinds of stuff along the way that helps us get to our mission point, and it's fun. I don't know it's ever been less than challenging, but because you better have some courage, you better be a consistent learner. These are just some of the things on your notes there, but you better have some drive and ambition. perseverance. Like I said, Sherry's the most flexible person in the world. I'll tell her one day, well, I'm going to Vietnam next week. She's like, okay, I guess I'll get to and I'm telling you, she can master logistics. You saw our kids, right? We've been doing this while they've all been growing up. It's not an easy deal. It's the hardest part of the whole deal is what she does. And she does it masterfully, and she doesn't complain. But and she helps me see stuff. She helps me know when I'm because it takes a ton of time to do this stuff. And she helps me know, hey, you need to spend some time with your daughter. You need to spend some time with your kids, or you need to spend some time with me, right? And so, because I'm going 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire most of the time. And I have a life that I absolutely love with a mission direction that Sherry loves too, but we don't get to do it all the time together. And we're looking at doing more of that as we move ahead, but, and I told you about the worldwide part. Well, just this morning I'm in an email conversation brokering a deal between a Mexican company and a company in West Africa that I met last month, back in December. The things that I had hoped and dreamed for are now beginning to happen. And life is very exciting for us. My kids are excited. They think life is not stale. We don't spend our nights at home watching TV all the time. We have a lot to do. And so we try to be very missional about what we're doing. And I would be remiss to say that if it wasn't for the faith that Sherry and I shared in this journey with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we'd really be in a mess. Because it's there have been a lot of hard times, and we've seen the provision. And Caleb can tell you this, when we go through hard times, and even last year we lost $800,000 in business just because somebody got bought out. Well, most people don't navigate that very well. And normally, back in the old days, I would have been a piece of mush on the floor after that.
He does get a little moody when that
happens. And she does know.
You may wonder what I do today. People go, like somebody in the line, Holy Ghost said, so what do you do with Worldwide Business Solutions? I'm like, well, I take them lunch every once in a while, and I coach their kids in gymnastics. But I do now. We have moved out to Buffalo Gap, and my kids go to Gym Med now, and so I have started doing a little gymnastics program out there after school 2 days a week, and the Lord has blessed that tremendously. I have 50 plus students that I teach up there 2 days a week, and it just gives me a little bit of mad money to be able to do some things that I want to do. Because
our money is not liquid, it is tied up in some sort of investment. And
just honestly, it has been a godsend, because sometimes when you can't, Caleb predicts a hole. Hey, next month we're going to have a hole. Guess what? Payroll's going to be tight. Brian will go, it's okay, hold our checks, we'll live off Sherry's gymnastics money. That is a blessing to us to be able to do that, because that's not something that we could have done years and years ago. So it has been very nice, and it's wonderful getting to do that. But I told him, I said I wanted him to make sure he saved time to tell a really cool story.
So
God's favor.
So I was telling you about one of the companies we're working with now, and we've devoted quite a bit of time to it, and I'll wrap this up here. But I was on the phone the other day. We've been waiting for breakthrough on this one company for a while. We've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, and I was talking to my partner the other day, and one of the things we try to do, and this is true in the sanitation world, it's been true in every venture we've gone into, is that I had when I first got United and we were talking to them about signing this contract, their vice president, we went down and sat down at a meal for lunch one day before they did the contract, and he said, first thing out of his mouth was, I hate chemical companies. I'm like, good to see you. Anyway, he said, I've been doing this 40 years, and no one will ever do what they tell you they're going to do. They're not trustworthy. And I said, well, with some confidence that we could do this. This was going to stretch us because it's way bigger than what we were. But he ended up becoming a really great friend after a few butt chewings and things like that came over the course of some misunderstandings. But you guys, the thing is that we've always tried to be the people who we say we are with our mouth. We're not perfect, but we try to be as good as we can be in how we operate. And so that's a culture that has been created in our company. And so the people that work with us as contractors or as colleagues, that's our mission. And so, you know, one of the things that happened, this happened earlier this week actually. The company I told you we've been investing in for about 9 years, we were allocated or approached about 5 months ago with a new oil field product from Nissan. And I will be just very transparent with you that my knowledge of the oil field was you could put in a thimble. I mean, I knew what a pump jack was and that kind of stuff. And we've been working with some stuff on cleanups, but never in downhole stuff. And I met this guy a while back, 3 years ago, and he says, and we never had gotten to know each other, but we started doing a little business, and he says, hey, I'm going to be a part of a beta test release for this product from Nissan. He said, I'm looking for a company to rep us out in the Permian Basin, which is, as you guys know, only the center of oil America, right?
So we thought, hey, one more business, why not? Let's do another one.
And so they contact us, and we're like, yeah, we'll do that. Well, with all this other company, we have to bend people's arms to get them to talk to us about our product line. This product line, we've been in every major company that you can think of because it makes money for them. And so there's only two companies in the country that are repping that. It's me and my partners and another one out of Fort Worth. Well, of course, there's some misunderstandings and how it got all released, and so there starts this infighting over certain big companies that are worth millions and millions of dollars. And my partner, we've now worked together 9 years, and I've grown to love him a lot, and because he is a man of principle. He said, we agreed to give up a major company in order to access another one, even though the other company we're competing against had zero right to either one of them, and just to make Nissan happy. And so we make an agreement down in Houston just last week that we would hand over this other company to them, and yeah, very begrudgingly that we would do that. And so this project has been working for a while, and we've had initial meetings with several companies, but these haven't moved. I mean, they've been sitting in the hopper for a while now. And so my partner, he comes back and he gets contacted by Nissan. Hey, can you send me the contact information and the updates on the company that you're handing over? He's like, no, I'm not giving it to you. Make them find it themselves, right? Because they did nothing to earn it. Anyway, and so he goes to bed that night, and in his spirit, he's like, I thought you said you were going to help Nissan. They're like, yeah, but there's some multi-billion-dollar company. No, you said you're going to help them. So in the midst of all that, he wakes up the next morning. He said, not only was I told to write the letter, I was told what to write. And so he did. And so within about an hour, one of the largest companies in the